Hey guys, Megan here, doing my labor and delivery story. Sorry it's been a while, but I guess it's been 3 weeks now. You know, it's just things have been busy. We've had family here and stuff like that. So, family just left this morning actually. My baby is 21 days old, and I've only got to spend 5 days alone with her, which really, it's hard, it sucks, but you know, family was here and everything, so, and it was just kind of one right after the other. So anyway, moving on. Okay, so my labor and delivery. Well, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in my 38-week video, 38-week video, I had mentioned that I had a dream about September 29th. Don't know why, just that date stuck out in my head. And then I had also had a dream about 38 weeks and 5 days, and I didn't know why that had stuck out in my dream either. So let me tell you what happened on those days. September 29th at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I started having pretty consistent Braxton Hicks. Not painful, just annoying, and they felt like menstrual cramps. And they would burn down the top of my thighs. So those happened, they would be about, they were only like 30 seconds long, and they were like 5 minutes apart. Well, actually they were like 10 minutes apart, for like hours and hours and hours. And throughout the night they just got a little bit closer together each time. But it was very, very slow that they got closer together. So anyway, I didn't think anything of it really. I just thought, oh, more Braxton Hicks, you know. So then on that night, they got stronger and stronger and a little closer together. And then October, or have I been saying October? I mean September. September 30th, which was the day that I was 38 weeks and 5 days. They got pretty painful, and they kind of started changing and feeling different. I started to have some pressure in my pelvis every time I had a contraction, and it's really hard to explain what a contraction feels like because they are different than Braxton Hicks. Braxton Hicks feel like menstrual cramps, and then a contraction, you know, I didn't really notice my tummy getting tight, but I'm sure it did. I just tried to breathe through them. But it was the strangest pain. It's just your whole stomach area, the whole thing. It's just this intense Charlie horse cramp like feeling. Not a menstrual cramp feeling. The best way I can explain it is like a giant Charlie horse in your entire abdomen. And it gets so intense when it peaks. It makes you want to scream. And I'm one of those noisy people. I didn't think I would be, but I was. But anyway, so yeah, they started getting more painful, but they were still at the point where I could handle them, I could talk through them, I could walk through them. I took like 3 hot baths, took a shower, I tried walking around, but really the last thing you want to do is walk around when you're feeling that way. So yeah, that was on the 30th, and then around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was like, okay, these are getting really painful. Maybe we should go to the hospital and see if I've progressed at all. I really was holding off on going to the hospital. Like, my husband wanted me to go right away, but I was like, no, I can still handle them. They're not too painful. And I was just dreading being sent home because I knew I'd be sent home. So I wasn't getting my hopes up that I was in labor. But anyway, we went to the hospital finally at 3 o'clock, And there's a pattern with this 3 o'clock thing, you'll see. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon on September 30th, we go to the hospital and they check me, and I was a loose 1 centimeter and I was 70% effaced. And they said that I was probably in the early stages of labor, and they said that they were going to send me home to labor at home, and they gave me a shot of morphine and Phenergan to help me sleep through the contractions, which they do in your butt. They give you a shot in your butt, and it feels like a giant bee sting, and I hated it. But it didn't help with the pain, and it did not make me tired. I tried to sleep. I only slept about 10 minutes, and anyway, we got home and I just tried to relax and lounge around, and they got more and more intense. So me and my husband went to bed at about midnight, maybe 11 midnight, and I was in a lot of pain, and I kept getting that intense pressure down in my pelvic area and like in my butt, and with each contraction. Finally they got to the point where I was just in tears, and they were 1 minute apart. Actually, they were a minute and a half apart, and they were 2 minutes apart, excuse me. They were 2 minutes apart, and they were about a minute long. And literally we could time them like that. We were timing them on my phone, and my husband was timing them, and he would say, okay, you're about to have a contraction. I was like, crap. So I braced myself, and sure enough, he's like, okay, you're gonna have one now, and sure enough, it would hit me. And it starts off this slow cramping, and then it gets tighter, 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 and then it like gets to this really intense peak, and you're just like, oh my god. And it stays there for a couple seconds, and then it slowly goes back down, and you're just like, whew, my god. And once a contraction is gone, it's almost like this high feeling that you're feeling normal for just a moment, and you forget what it feels like to feel normal and not be in pain. And yeah, so it's like this high feeling like, oh my god, I feel amazing right now. But then you're like, I know, in like 2 minutes I'm gonna feel like hell again. So anyway, about 3 o'clock in the morning on October 1st, I could not stand my contractions anymore. And let me check my time on here. I don't know how long. But anyway, 3 o'clock in the morning, we get in the car, get everything loaded in the car, everything ready to go, and we go to the hospital. I get there, they hook me up, I'm crying, I'm in so much pain, and they monitor me. I was having regular contractions, and then they checked me, and I was 3 centimeters, I believe, and I was 80 or 90% effaced. So then I laid in the triage for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I don't know. They came in, and then they said, okay, we're gonna admit you. We're gonna get you to your room. We got to our room about 5:45 a.m. and I had told them when we got there that I wanted an epidural. So by the time we got to our room, the epidural was already all set up and ready to go in the room, and the anesthesiologist was already on his way to our room. So I got my epidural within 30 minutes of being admitted, which was amazing. And luckily it wasn't a busy night. There was me and like 4 other women that had been in there that were in labor. But throughout the day it got busy. There was like 12 other people who went into labor that day. But anyway, yeah, so I got my epidural, which is not bad at all. The only part that sucked was my contractions were so close. They became about a minute apart and a minute long. And he was trying to do the epidural in between my contractions, but he only had a minute window to do it between each contraction. So the numbing part was the only painful part, but it wasn't even, I wouldn't even say it was painful. It was just like a little pinch. And the only part that's weird is feeling that needle in your spine. And feeling, just, you don't feel it like poking or anything, but you can feel it moving around, and it's just a really weird sensation. But anyway, as soon as he got it in and stuff, they inject the trial stuff, and your legs go all warm and fuzzy, and it numbs you from here down, so from under your breastbone down, you're numb, completely numb. And it's not a bad numb feeling, it's a heavy feeling. Which it actually gets annoying after a while. But anyway, so I got my epidural, which was awesome. I wasn't in pain anymore. And then I literally just laid there and talked to my husband, and we were texting and Facebooking and updating and all that. So that part was really boring. I started pushing because I got to 10 centimeters at like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I was at 10. They broke my water, and I had thick meconium in it, which means she pooped a lot while she was in there. And so they said that they had to bring NICU in. They weren't going to take her away or anything unless there was a major problem, but yeah, so they had to bring NICU in, so they wouldn't be able to lay her directly on my stomach right after she was born. Darren wouldn't be able to cut the cord while she was still attached to me and stuff. So that was kind of a bummer, but they just said, you know, we need to have NICU check her out, make sure she didn't swallow any of the meconium, that it's not in her lungs and all that. So it was alright. But anyway, so then after they broke my water, they were just like, well, when you start having pressure that doesn't go away, let us know. I wasn't having that pressure for like an hour. I mean, every time I'd have a contraction, I'd feel a little bit of pressure, but it didn't stay there. It wasn't a consistent pressure. So finally I was just like, can I just start pushing? So I started pushing. I pushed for 40 minutes, and I only pushed about like 8 times maybe, because you know, you push like 3 times, so you push for like 30 seconds, and then you stop and wait for your next contraction, and there's a lot of waiting. And then push again. So anyway, yeah, and I pushed for 40 minutes, and then next thing I knew, I could feel her head coming out. Like, it didn't hurt, it was just like you could feel something coming out of your body. But with the epidural, it doesn't hurt, it's just pressure, and it's not an intense pressure that you can't handle. At least it wasn't for me. And then she was born at 12:25 in the afternoon on October 1st. And they took her over and checked her out and cleaned out her lungs, and she was totally fine. She came out screaming. She didn't swallow any meconium, and I tore a little bit. I had a 1st-degree tear. So they just stitched me up, and then about half hour to 40 minutes later, after they were done cleaning her, weighing her, measuring her, all that stuff, they wrapped her up and brought her over to me, and I got to hold her, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was the best feeling in the world. Let me check my time. I gotta wrap this up. But actually, I'll just make a part 2.